My name is Andy Speak. I'm the National Technical Manager at Aico. Aico are a domestic alarm manufacturer of fire alarms, carbon monoxide alarms and other internal air quality sensors. Aico have been operating for over 30 years now. We've always focused on the domestic market, historically with fire and carbon monoxide alarms, and more recently we're involved in Internet of Things, connected solutions, displaying data and alarm events to residents, to landlords, to any housing professionals who can better increase the safety of the occupants within properties. Carbon monoxide is a deadly gas. You can't see it, you can't smell it. There's no necessarily knowing that it's physically available. It's most commonly given off from when an appliance is potentially not functioning correctly or when that combustion process is compromised in some capacity. That's when carbon monoxide is given off. And if that's in open air, then that's absolutely fine. When it's correctly exhausted into the atmosphere, that's great. The moment you're in an enclosed space, whether that be a tent, a caravan, a boat, a house, a domestic property, that's when occupants are most at risk. All occupants are at risk of carbon monoxide poisoning. There are some groups who we know could be at higher risk and more vulnerable to that. That could be elderly, that could be young people, children, pregnant mothers especially. But equally, a perfectly healthy adult will equally be susceptible to carbon monoxide poisoning. At lower levels of poisoning, you may be feeling flu-like symptoms. It could be nauseousness. It could be literally feeling a little bit dizzy, a little bit groggy. Higher ends of the spectrum, when we get larger parts per million carbon monoxide, that's when occupants start likely to collapse, and then we run the risk of fatalities from carbon monoxide exposure. We're increasingly seeing more and more evidence that lower levels of carbon monoxide are actually harmful to the human body, and particularly to vulnerable groups such as pregnant women and elderly and others. And it's not necessarily looking at the worst case scenario with a fatality, but equally there can be heart conditions, there can be mental health conditions, there can be all sorts of other repercussions of exposure and toxicity to carbon monoxide. We know that carbon monoxide events are massively underreported, and that's due to the complexity of being able to diagnose carbon monoxide. Carbon monoxide can leave the bloodstream after 30 minutes of exposure, and medical professionals wouldn't even necessarily know to look out for carbon monoxide. So it's vitally important that we increase awareness, we increase education surrounding carbon monoxide, the risks, the different types of appliances that can cause carbon monoxide. Most importantly, from our perspective, from an alarm perspective, is making sure that occupants physically have alarms in their property, that the alarms are working, they know how to operate them, they don't dismiss an alarm event expecting it to be a nuisance alarm, they generally take action from that. And we also know, due to the fact that we now have more connected devices, we have more connected alarms, we have an idea of how many carbon monoxide events are actually genuinely occurring on a daily basis. And it's a massive comparison to the number of events which are recorded medically. We're all seeing in some cases where occupants are physically disabling alarms after they've activated. So we know that, again, this is an education issue. This is occupants who are dismissing a genuine alarm event, expecting it to be a nuisance alarm. Maybe they can't see fire, they assume it's a fire alarm, whereas carbon monoxide alarms make a different sound to fire. It's another reason why we encourage all occupants to be testing their alarms regularly. Most importantly, the latest advice is monthly, but as long as you're testing your alarms, you know that they're working and you know the difference between a fire alarm and a carbon monoxide alarm. That's why campaigns such as Carbon Monoxide Awareness Week are really, really important. Aico support these campaigns. We always will continue to, and I encourage everybody to like, share and increase the awareness of campaigns like this with others, friends and family.